You don't need another strategy. Here's what you actually need to figure out why you can't implement the things that you already know. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, former psychologist, now business coach, and I help women just like us to build profitable private practices, usually in under 12 months. Being neurodivergent means I see the patterns that other coaches miss, but it also means I'm a truth teller, so I'm not interested in giving you any business advice that sounds good or might be trending, but doesn't actually work for us. Welcome to the Practice Momentum podcast, where we're going to get your private practice sorted out. Thanks so much for being here, and let's get on with the next episode. Okay, in all honesty, I've got 3 different pieces of paper here in front of me with notes I've been scribbling this morning while I was watching TV with Buddy, getting ready for work, because the ideas are just kind of flooding, right? So hopefully this is going to make a little bit of sense, but it's me. We're going to go on tangents, okay? So hopefully you're here for that. Welcome back to another episode, of course. So what was on my mind this morning was I got a message in my, Facebook Messenger, and it was from somebody saying that she was feeling overwhelmed with the review from her website wellness check. So if you've ever had one of those with me, you know what she's probably talking about. They go for about half an hour to an hour, usually an hour, sometimes longer. And it's me going through your whole entire website, basically picking it apart, but doing it with loving kindness, because of course I want you to fix it so that you can get clients, right? You need clients, fill the diary, or maybe you need supervisees for your group supervision, or maybe you need new people for your program or your course, things like that. Whatever it is, right? There's a need on the other side of this. And I think, sometimes when people buy things from me, like that audit, I think maybe they're not expecting the level of, detail, and maybe they're just thinking, oh, she's going to give me 5 tips or something. So when I go, oh, well, we need to fix that, this isn't on there and that's missing, could we reword this, and that might appeal to more clients, stuff like that. I think it feels like a lot. They're just not expecting it's going to be so much. But this is just one example, right? But I hear it a lot. And also, I've been doing discovery calls lately, and it's also coming up that people are feeling overwhelmed. Some of my clients share from time to time that they're overwhelmed. And I've noticed myself, like within me, resistance coming up now when people are telling me how overwhelmed they are. And I thought, this is really interesting. I need to figure out what this is bringing up for me. And understanding that, of course, we're all different, and I don't judge any of my clients at all, and I hope they don't judge me either. I just want to be open and transparent and let you know this is coming up for me. So and I was thinking, why am I now starting to get so fluffed up and people are saying that they're overwhelmed? And I don't know, part of me thinks, how is it happening? Why is it happening? What's going on for you that you're experiencing the overwhelm, but you're getting stuck in it, and you're having a lot of trouble moving out of it. And so I'm asking in my mind, I'm exploring, I'm unpacking, I'm wanting to know all of the things that are going into the overwhelm experience for someone, because everyone's different, right? And anyway, I was talking with one of my clients yesterday, came up again, and she said to me at the start of our call, I said to her, oh, how's everything been going? It's so lovely to see you, and blah, blah, blah. Looking forward to, starting the conversation basically. And she said to me, oh, well, I don't feel like I'm making any progress, and I'm just feeling so overwhelmed by everything. And I thought to myself, here it is again, this overwhelm thing. And so I thought, I'm just going to unpack it. So I said to her, can we unpack it? And she said, yes. I said, great. So then we started to unpack it. And she started to say to me, yeah, well, since we last spoke, everything's going pretty well. I've got clients booked 3 weeks ahead now, which is great. I've booked a holiday. I'm going to be going away soon. And yeah, I'm going away for like a bunch of weeks. It was 4 or 5 weeks or something. She was saying that she raised her fees $10. She was saying that, what else? Something about a new referral stream. And I'm just sitting there and I'm listening. And what I'm hearing is it's been win after win after win. And so when she finished talking, and there were lots of things, right? That's just like me skimming the surface, but there were lots of things. And then I was thinking to myself, yeah, we want to loop back to the overwhelm in a second. But the thing is that as she was saying it out loud, she said to me, oh, actually, I've done really well. And I said, yeah, you have, especially because you just started your practice, like from scratch. From scratch. She had a business and blah, blah, blah a little while ago. And then anyway, it all hit the fan. And so she had to start again. And that happened in the middle of our working together, right? So everything got burned down and then she had to, boom, build it all up again. And she's done it in a matter of months. And anyway, she's reflecting and she's saying, I'm hearing myself say it out loud. And actually, I've achieved a lot, haven't I? And I said, well, yes, certainly sounds like that. And I said, so where's the overwhelm? She says, I don't know. I said, okay. She said, I don't know. And I said, okay, is there something coming up with clients? She said, no, I really love my clients. Like since I've got my niche now and it's, I'm not general anymore. I'm really refined. I'm feeling energized by all my clients. I love working with my clients. I'm not dreading going to the practice anymore. I was nervous about niching because I was worried that I was going to miss out on clients, especially because I was just starting. But now I've realized that, my diary built more quickly and it was such a surprise. And before when I was not in a niche, I was dreading going to work because I never really knew what was coming through the door and I didn't really like all of the presentations that I was working with. But now I'm working with this particular client group with this particular challenge and I'm loving it, thriving, and they're thriving. And we're all doing really well. I said, okay, is there something else going on that we need to explore about the overwhelm? So we start looking at everything else and anyway, she can't figure out where the overwhelm came from. And I thought, isn't it interesting that sometimes we can say out loud, or maybe we think to ourselves we're feeling overwhelmed with something, but then when we look at everything, there isn't anything behind it. And so that became part of the conversation. And, we were talking about how does this come up and, where are we getting this from? And it was very interesting because what we discovered was that she's neurodivergent, I'm neurodivergent. And she said, well, I guess the thing is that, I don't know, I just often feel like I'm behind. And I said, okay. So she's doing really well with her private practice. I mean, it's only been months since she started it up again. And she's doing really well. This is not the first holiday that she's taken this financial year, right? Let's put it that way. She's doing well. So when she's saying she's feeling behind, I'm saying, okay, with what? She said, just thought that, I'm behind and that everybody's further along than me and stuff like this. And I said, well, what are we basing this on? She didn't know. Thought, okay, that's interesting as well. And so it turns out like we just kind of absorb the narrative sometimes, right? But then the other thing too was she was saying, well, I really want to get started with some passive income and maybe that's where I'm feeling behind. I said, okay, let's unpack that. So she said, I think, I should just be like doing the steps. Maybe if I had the steps. I said, okay. And then we explored that and it's like, well, even when she's got the steps, she still feels overwhelmed. And I said to her, do you think it's because you're trying to use linear ways of achieving things for a brain that doesn't work in a linear way? And it was a light bulb moment. And she said, well, yeah, but how else am I meant to do it? Like, you have to follow the steps, and I just struggle with that. And my attention's over here and then it's over there, and I've got lots of things started and I want to get them finished, and yeah, I'm struggling. And I said to her, okay, I wonder if you approached the work with a different viewpoint, right? With a different way of looking at it. What could that look like? She said, oh, I don't know. And I said, okay, well, if you're putting pressure on yourself to follow things in a step-by-step linear order, and your brain just cannot do that, you are always going to feel behind, because you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, right? When you were at school, when I was at school, everything was taught for neurotypical people, right? There was an order to things. It wasn't like neurotypical people might call the way that we work chaotic. And for some reason, we kind of learned or picked up that that's bad, and that's not how you should do business, and that's not how you should work. But it's just not how neurotypical people should work, right? People who are neurotypical do really well with structure, right? And boundaries and steps, and they need a plan and things like that. But the problem for neurodivergent people is that's pretty much all that they have ever learned. You have to have the plan. There has to be the framework. There's got to be the structure. There's got to be the steps. There's got to be a sequence to things, an order to things. And you have to know the following step and the one after that. Even though you're only on step 1, you still need to know what step 35 is, right? This is causing the overwhelm, and it's causing you to feel behind. And you're looking around at peers and colleagues who are only ever showing you the best and showing you what they're doing really well. They're not showing you behind the scenes. They're not showing you the struggles and things like that. So yeah, you're going to feel overwhelmed and behind. There is, a distinct absence of leaders in private practice that are speaking into neurodivergence and how to run a business as a neurodivergent business owner. There is absolutely space for you to be able to do that. But you need somebody to, show you that, yes, it's possible you can do it. And guess what? There are plenty of women in private practice, increasingly so, that are neurodivergent and crushing it, right? And they're not having plans, and they're not following structure, and they're not doing those things. I think the challenge is, because maybe you haven't seen how it can look, you haven't been presented with an alternative, it's gonna feel hard for you, right? Absolutely. It's gonna feel so hard for you. It would be like, I don't know, if I was a cat and I was going to supervision and all the supervision were dogs, right? Cats and dogs. I'm the cat. There are all these beautiful dogs, pink bows in their hair and stuff, sitting around supervision all talking about the dog way of doing things. And here's me as a cat trying to fit in and trying to take the dog ways of doing things, and it's just not working for me. And I go back to supervision and I see that all the dogs are moving forward and they're kicking goals, and I'm not, and I feel behind and now feel really overwhelmed. Understandable, no? Yes. And then take it the other way. What if, you were around other cats? What if you're around other cats and all those cats were like, oh yeah, play with the ball of string. Doesn't matter which direction it goes in. The fun is in chasing the string. Go and have a sleep when you need to chillax. Like, that's totally fine. That's how you're going to recoup your energy so you can climb up the curtains when your parents aren't looking. Like, do you know what I'm saying? There's been an absence of exposure of what it can look like. And here's the thing that I know, and that I'm sure a whole bunch of my clients will attest to. But when you get to work with somebody who understands about being neurodivergent, and that, plans and structure and frameworks generally don't work so well for us, we need different ways of working. We need, instead of a plan that says, do this in this order, we need a mind map. We need something that's a bit squiggly, that has, like a little octopus with all the tentacles. And we're just going to look at our little mind map every month, and we're going to say, oh, which thing on my mind map do I feel inspired to attempt today? And guess what? At the end of the month, everything on that mind map is going to be done. But we didn't need to do it in any particular order. We did it in the order that our brain said, oh, I want to go here today. Oh, I want to go over there today, right? And when you can do that, you get to achieve your goals and you get to make progress, and you're not comparing yourself to anyone or anything, because you understand that if we're all cats and we've all got our own mind maps, or like, I'm just a big fan of visual things for neurodivergence, but I'm saying mind maps, but it'll be your own thing. But let's imagine we're all there and we've all got our own goals and we've all got our own mind maps and we're all just doing our things. There's no I'm falling behind. It's just you're doing this squiggle over here this week, or you're feeling drawn to that squiggle over there this morning, and then in the afternoon, oh, now I feel like doing this thing over here. Do you see what I'm saying? So you can have I call it a wiggly approach to business, but my client articulated it better and she said flexible. So choose your word, but I think, yeah, absolutely embrace the wiggle and allow yourself to go there. And it's not about unlearning anything. You don't have to unlearn, it has to be a certain way. I think we all know that that's going to work for some people, but for us with neurodivergence, it's really about, okay, that's great, and I understand the concept of that, and I can certainly help my neurotypical clients who like plans and like structure and want steps, and yes, we can do all of that. But I also know now for myself, it's okay for me to have the Brooklyn way of doing things, right? Or the Cali way of doing things, or the Madison way of doing things, or the Susan way of doing things. And that doesn't have to be in a straight line where you're getting yourself overwhelmed all the time, right? It doesn't have to be like that at all. The sooner you can start to accept, hey, my brain is never going to handle those straight lines, and it only leads me to overwhelm and feeling behind and not great about myself. I'm just going to give this a go and see what happens. And I'm going to make myself a monthly mind map, and maybe I'll have visibility over here, and maybe I'll have client stuff over there, and maybe I'll have, inspo over there. And I'm just going to make sure that every 30 days I get the stuff done on my little mind map, and I let my brain decide what it feels like doing that week. Yeah. So something like that. It's really around the accepting that the ways we've been taught weren't necessarily the ways that match us and our brain, how our minds work, and things like that. And that, just like neurotypical people needed to develop those ways and formalize those ways for themselves, we also get to develop and create our own ways of working for ourselves. There's another thing too, like somebody was sharing recently about she's doing a course at the moment, and she's struggling because she's got to go through like the modules in order. But her mind is like, oh, I want to do module 3 now. And she can't get to it because each module unlocks after the first one's done. So that's problematic. I mean, I think if you're going to be making courses, maybe keep that in mind if you want to be neuroaffirming. But the other thing too was she's finding it hard because she's got to like download this PDF that's not fillable. She's got to download the PDF. She's got to print it off. She's got to try and find a clip or a paper clip or a stapler or something to bundle it all together, which she can never find. She starts writing into the PDF, and then there's not enough space. So then she's pulling out a notebook and, and then she's hitting play on the video again. And then she's going back to these loose pieces of paper, and now there's a coffee cup on it. And now there's another thing she's got. And do you see? It's a freaking nightmare for her. But she still wants to acquire the skills, the knowledge, and work with the content because otherwise, like, what's the point? She's into practical learning. She doesn't just want to tick this off because she needs to do it to keep her membership. She wants to learn this stuff so she can use it with her clients. And so we explored different ways of her being able to do that. And, one of the ways is she really absorbs audio very, very well. So I showed her a tool that she can use. She can just upload the transcript of that training into this tool and it will turn it into a podcast for her. And it doesn't cost her anything to use. And so since she's been doing that, now she's able to have that podcast going in the background. It's interesting. It's novel. She's paying attention. She's getting the information that she needs. And then she's able to go online and do the self-assessments and she's passing them. And it's feeling easier for her. She has that podcast going. If you can hear clicking, my screensaver just came on. I know. It's because I'm a talker. Sorry about that. There we go. She has a podcast going on in the background while she's doing other things. She's able to do that. She can split her attention like that. It's so good. And so I really feel like if you're saying to yourself, I'm overwhelmed, and you're getting stuck and then you can't move forward and you're getting frustrated and you want to blame something. Oh, it's because of, I've got to print the PDFs and it's because this won't unlock, or it's because I need a plan. I need the steps, right? No, if you're neurotypical, it's not because of that. You're picking up, you've absorbed what other people say and it's now like part of your beliefs that this is what you need. And I want you to know it's not what you need. What you need is, to give yourself space to really look at when you're crushing it, what's going on? Like, what are you doing when you're crushing it? I bet you're not following a stinking plan, right? I bet you're getting inspired. Oh, somebody that I was speaking to yesterday, she used the phrase magic, and it was peppered throughout our whole conversation, and we discussed it. And I think it was just amazing because sometimes it felt to me like, in a way, she was almost downplaying the magic. The magic was these moments of just knowing, right? Even though probably somebody else might have said, oh, yikes, you need a plan. What if it fails? What if it doesn't work? How are you going to do it? What do you mean you're just going to make this big life decision and, you've got no idea how it's going to work out? She, I think, sometimes was almost apologizing for the magic, almost downplaying it, like feeling like she shouldn't really be talking about it, which of course made me want to dial it up, because for her, the magic, what I think have been her aha moments, her moments of inspiration. You know how we all get them, right? That those moments where you just kind of like, you get this idea and you just know you got to run with it, and nothing could really deter you. You just know you got to do it. I think that is something that happens for all people. But I think maybe the experience is different for somebody who's neurodivergent, because this is just my 5 cents. So please don't email me saying to me this happens for neurotypicals and blah, blah, blah. I'm just sharing my experience, right? I think that it's different for neurodivergent people because when they get the inspiration and they let themselves go there, that puts them into, or can put them into, hyperfocus, right? They lose all sense of time and space. They get this idea first thing in the morning and they don't get up from the computer until it's dark outside. And even then, it's annoying that they've got to interrupt themselves to go to the bathroom, right? But when they finish their hyperfocus, they have gone from inspiration to a completed thing, and it's there ready to go. And I have seen this with counsellors, psychologists and social workers that are running private practices, clients of mine, do this. And the thing is that until they I guess I'm not saying work with me or anything like that. I'm not saying about get permission from anybody or themselves. I guess until they feel, I don't know, like it's okay or it's allowable or it's safe or they're willing to take the risk and just go there, um, they can continue to feel stifled and frustrated because sticking to that plan that was never made for them, that doesn't work the way their brains work, is always going to be a challenge, and it's going to be very hard for them to get the dopamine that you get when you complete it, when you tick a thing off, when there's the success, right? Versus if you get that inspiration and you tell yourself, well, my diary says that this is my admin day. So I really do need to get these emails written, and I really do need to find the file from 7 years ago for the subpoena that I've got to write the report for, and all of that. If you allow yourself and you're there in the morning and you're just watching something like I was this morning, and boom, you just get the idea. If you allow yourself to just say, okay, let's just see where this goes, you end up with something that's really, really high quality. It's usually innovative. It's going to be creative, and you're getting dopamine with every single action along the way. Whereas if you're following a plan and you've got to follow the 7 steps to success or something like that, you're waiting until step 7 to get the dopamine, right? And because it's rare for, well, again, my opinion, I'm sure there are always exceptions to the rules, but by and large, I believe it's really hard for somebody who's neurodivergent to ever get to step 7 and get the dopamine. But if they sit down and they allow themselves to map out the thing or be creative or brainstorm it and then take it further and look at what could this really look like, and they just let themselves go there, they're getting dopamine like on a drip for that whole time that they're focused on that thing, right? And if you're neurodivergent, you probably, hopefully, know what I'm talking about. Like, you just feel so good while you're doing it because you do a step and then that inspires the next step. And then that inspires the next step. And it's like you're flying on the seat of your pants and you don't know what's coming next. But geez, the thing that you've just done was so awesome that now it's leading on to the next thing and the next. And it's like a domino effect of dopamine. It's just bang, 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 bang. And then you get to the end and you're like, whoa, I can't believe I did that. And you look at the thing that you've done and yeah, you've been in hyperfocus for hours, but it's done. It went from ideation to completed thing that's now here in the world that you can use in your business, with your clients, at home, like whatever it is that you're doing. And you've just done something that might take somebody else 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 90 days. You've, we would say smashed it out. You've just got totally absorbed in it, and that's one of the beautiful things about neurodivergence as well, right? When we are present, we are so present, or we can be so present rather, that our presence can be at the exclusion of so many other things. We're not even aware of time, of our tummy, of the toilet, of, the sunrise and the sunset. We are so present. It's at the exclusion of all the other things. And guess what? When you remove the expectation we have for ourselves of we've got to do the steps and it's got to be done this way and it's got to be done in that order, and you just say, do you know what? I'm just going to do it my neurodivergent way, my wiggly way, my mind mappy way, my audio podcast way, and see what happens. I bet you're going to be happier. You're getting all the dopamine. You're not going to be overwhelmed, right? You can't be. Well, again, my 5 cents. I don't think you're ever going to be overwhelmed if you work with your brain. And that's why something like visual cues are so helpful for us. The other thing that can be really helpful, I'm on a tangent now in case you hadn't noticed. The other thing that can be really helpful is, again, a visual tool, a visual cue, like a progress bar. A simple progress bar works super well for us. So you can do it in a number of ways, but I think an automated way is best. I think if you try and create for yourself a let's say it's a habit tracker, right? And you've got to go in and you've got to manually track that you did I don't know, you posted on your socials every day for 30 days or something, and you're in there and you're tracking that. I think you're probably going to forget to do it. I think you'll probably start strong and then you're going to get distracted and then you're not going to do it. And, your social posts might drop off and not be as consistent anymore. And then you're going to, somebody's going to say, how are you going with your 30 days? Oh, I finished mine. And somebody else can say, yeah, I finished mine. I'm going to do it again. And it was so great having the thing. And you're there going, how the F is everybody doing this? And you're going to feel behind and you're going to feel overwhelmed, right? But I think when you're working with your visual cues that are automated, I think that's better because it's unexpected, because you're not attending to it. So it feels like a surprise, right? So example, if you're like, I make heaps of things with AI now, right? All these things that, and I'll tell you what they are as well, because if you're neurodivergent, well, even if you're not, these will be interesting and helpful. But in a lot of the things that I make for myself and even for my clients when I make them, I include progress bars so that they can see how they're going, and it feels really nice. And the other thing that I do is I gamify stuff. So it's not so easy to gamify things if I'm making a resource for a client, but I'm sure the functionality will improve. It's kind of like, do you remember when computers first came out and they were the black screen and they had the green writing and all of that? And if you're young, not like me, and you've probably seen it in movies, right? And then look at now, we've got whole videos that are made online, and we've got font pairings and stuff like that. It never used to be like this. It just used to be a black screen with this horrible green writing. And I can remember when I got my first computer in 1995, it was a whole 1 meg of memory. I know. I got it from the Smart Shop at Monash University, the student section there. And it was this big, heavy, clunky thing. It had this great big tower, floppy disks. Remember those floppy disks? And I thought my computer was the bee's knees because it had orange writing. Orange, like, the lights in the city when you go driving and they're on the freeway and stuff, that kind of orange. I thought it was so cool. That was like the level we were talking about back then. And the reason I'm saying that now is because when I'm talking about gamifying your things now, it can feel a bit tricky with some of I'm talking about AI because that's what I'm using, because it's at that stage of development. It's still very early, but I know it's going to improve. But anyway, I can do things to gamify it, like, randomly give people confetti on their computer screen when, something happens and they're not expecting it and they get this little shower of confetti. That's a nice way of having some dopamine. I can set up progress bars that track things for them automatically. I can put timers on their stuff if they want to have a little bit of focus time and stuff like that. So I think, if you're saying that you're getting overwhelmed, be careful, because whether let me say about neurodivergence and neurotypical first, and then I'll talk about something else. If you're neurodivergent, it's not your language. I don't think, again, my 5 cents. Overwhelm does not belong in our vocabulary. The overwhelm is happening because you're trying to square peg round hole it. Stay in your lane, do it the divergent way. If you're not sure what that's going to look like for you, listen to what your mind is saying it wants to put its attention on, and get some help, get some support around it while you're learning how to work with it, right? That's the first thing. If you're neurotypical and you're saying, I'm overwhelmed, that can be problematic for you for different reasons, right? For you, that will be happening if you don't have a plan because you need one. You can't work with chaos like we can. You need to know, oh, what do I need to do first? And after that, what do I need to do? Yes, and then after that, what comes next? You need that. So if you don't have that, you're probably experiencing a bit of overwhelm because you're probably, I guess, feeling scattered, and your brain doesn't like scatter, whereas my brain loves it, right? So you're feeling scattered, and that doesn't feel good for you because you want things in order. So that's what's happening potentially. The other thing that could be happening is there's no prioritizing going on. So not only is there no step or framework or guide or thing like that, you also are not sure what to do first. And so everything feels urgent, everything is important, everything needs to be done now, and everything is behind. And then you make it mean something. I'm not good enough. I will never make this work. I'm just not a business owner. Maybe I'll go and work for somebody else so I don't have to deal with this. And maybe you start one thing over here and then you leave it and then you start something else over there because maybe you think, oh, that should be the priority. You know, somebody said that should be what I'm focusing on, so I'll do that. And this is what happens, I think, with even the websites. We feel like I'm starting a business, I'm going to need a logo, I'm going to need my colors, I'm going to need my fonts, and I'm going to need a website. And you don't take time to go and learn how to make the website, what needs to be included on it, what is going to work, what's going to convert, what needs to be on the tabs, what makes it compliant, what a user experience is, or anything like that. You just kind of dive into Wix, or for me it was GoDaddy. You just kind of dive in and you get started, right? And then you're like, ta-da, I made the thing. And field of dreams, the clients should come, they don't come. And then you ask me, can you help me figure out why the clients aren't coming? My husband's looked at the website, my bestie looked at the website, my supervisor thinks it's great, it's not working. And then I'm like, well, it's not legally compliant. These links are broken. It's all written by AI, da. And we go through and I'm like, so we don't want to fix that. Here's a priority. And then you're like overwhelmed. But it's because you started steps, but you did them in the wrong order, right? Kind of like there are some women that start a private practice before they've learned how to do a business, right? They start a private practice and they don't have a business plan. They don't have a marketing plan. They don't have anything. They're qualified and they want to work with the clients and they think, I really just need to get a website up and a Psychology Today profile and I'll be good and the clients will come. And for some people that absolutely works, but for most people it doesn't. And so then they're paying rent or a lease on a room, on a space or something like that, and they don't have any clients. And so there's pressure on them. And then here we go with the overwhelm because now we're clutching because we don't know what to do. We don't know the order to do it. And because you're neurotypical, you're wanting that, right? You're wanting, neurotypical people often say to me, can you help me with a plan? I need to know the steps. And I'll give them the steps and they'll say, yeah, okay, that's great. But then what? And I'll say, well, okay, but that's a big thing over here. And they'll say, yeah. But then what comes after that? I'll say, well, after we've done the business plan, then we're going to do the marketing. They'll say, okay, and then what? I'm like, well, hang on, the business plan's going to take time and the marketing's going to take time, And they're like, yeah, I understand. But then what? And so it's this constant, yeah. So it's really, 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 really challenging. You need that structure, and because there's a lack of it, you're feeling the overwhelm. The other things that can happen are, hang on, I've written notes. I think I said that I've written some notes. Yeah, unclear priorities. Oh, no systems. So there's kind of an absence of systems. And what that can look like is because you're wanting everything to work in a certain way, but you don't know how to do it, You're trying to do the best that you can. And then what happens is you've got disjointed systems, or you've got an absence of them. And it's the disconnected systems or the absence of them that's then contributing to the overwhelm. Because I don't know, for example, you can find yourself in it, like one of my clients, when she first started working with me, she's got very successful group practice. She's a psychologist. She's got like, I don't know, I was going to say hundreds of psychologists and social workers working for her, but that's not true. I was exaggerating, but you get the idea. Like, she's got a bunch of people working for her, and on paper, she looks really successful. And, she's a private practice business coach, and she does really, really well. But she's always feeling like, she's reacting to things. So she'll say to me, oh, I've got a toxic team member at the moment, and she's like, there's this rot in the practice, and it's just kind of spreading, and I don't know how to deal with it. And then we have to go back and look at her systems, right? And she's like, oh, I don't have that. I'm like, okay, what about a policy for this, that, or the other? And she's like, oh, I don't have those. So she is in a position where, although she's financially successful, although, if you met her at a conference, you'd be like, whoa, she's doing so well. She's constantly stressed, constantly feeling overwhelmed, because she's finding herself in situations where she's having to respond and react rather than lead, And so that can cause overwhelm. And then once we put these things in place for her, then she feels more confident having difficult conversations, letting somebody go, starting the recruitment phase again, adding a service, discontinuing a service, opening another satellite office, closing a satellite office, doing all of those things. So you might say she's in her power now, and she is, because she's feeling more confident, and she's not overwhelmed because she has steps that say, when this thing happens, here is what happens next. She's got all that now, and so there's no overwhelm. That's the cure for some people, making sure that you've got clear priorities, you've got the steps, and that you're not wearing too many hats. And the not wearing too many hats is the lovely outcome of knowing what to prioritize and putting your systems in place. Yep. So then I guess the other thing that I was inspired by this morning, slight tangent, stay with me. I went onto YouTube, and you know how YouTube puts some suggested videos at the top of the screen for you? Well, there was a video of the Pope Leo, and the heading on the video said something like, Pope Leo recommends that AI be disarmed, or something like that. And I thought, oh, hello, this is interesting. Church is getting in on the AI. Of course I'm going to click on that video, and it only went for 10 minutes, which was awesome. But hey, get this. When I was watching it, the Pope, and I'm going to get all the language wrong, I'm very sorry if you're Catholic, is it cardinals? There were, I guess like important people. Imagine a stage, but they weren't on a stage. They were on the floor, and they were at ground level, let's say, and then the seats in the theatre went up, right? The opposite to what you would normally see in a theatre, I guess, where the stage is sort of elevated and the seats are at ground level. This was sort of inverse, and it was very small, and everybody there, I think, was a cardinal or a bishop or something like that. There may have been one or two AI people there. I didn't recognize them, but I think the Pope referenced one of them at one point. And I started listening to what the Pope was saying, and I went into it like ready for a fight, because I just see so many benefits with AI. Like, it is helping me with my business so much, and it's helping many of my clients in their businesses so much when they're, learning how to use it, because I teach them that. If that's something that they want to do, I teach them how to use it. And anyway, so I was like pre-fired up, I guess. And I told myself, just listen. 6:30 in the morning. We don't need the adrenaline going just yet. The medication hasn't kicked in. And so anyway, I'm just there and I'm watching it. And it was interesting because I felt myself soften as he was talking, because I realized he's approaching it from a macro level. And I realized I have just been like in my own little world with the AI. And I think my own little world is just fine. For all intents and purposes, it is. But he was talking about it more in terms of AI should be disarmed, because he was referencing, so the current Pope is Pope Leo the 14th, I think, and he was referencing Pope Leo the 13th, and he said, 135 years ago, Pope Leo the 13th gave a talk, I forget the name of it. Is it a encyclical? I don't know. I know I'm totally butchering this. I'm so sorry. But anyway, he said that back then, 135 years ago, that Pope Leo gave a similar presentation, but it was about the emergence of the Industrial Revolution. And I thought, this is interesting. And he was referencing it, and he said in that talk that he made, he was worried about the advancement of technology and what it meant for communities, and what it was going to mean for workers, and how it could create poverty because it might take away people's jobs. And I thought, this is interesting. And then he was talking about how that technology might be used for bad things and not good things and stuff like this. And of course, bringing it back to trying to see things through faith and trying to relate the Industrial Revolution and advancements there in technology to what it meant for humanity and for the earth, for relationships, and for God. And I thought, okay, this is very interesting. And then he says, so I'm finding myself in a similar position now, but it's not for the Industrial Revolution. It's for this revolution, which is AI. And then he was going on to say about he was worried that, AI could be a tool of exclusion for people. It could exclude people from accessing employment opportunities. It might exclude them from accessing social support systems. It's not really about bringing perhaps people together, and maybe it's not so much for the advancement of humanity or God. And he was quite concerned about how AI could be used for stuff like, deploying weapons. I think he was talking about the army and war and stuff like that, and how they've got drones and you don't need a person anymore to go and shoot somebody. You just set up the drone and you aim the drone at the target and the drone just does the thing now. I think that's what he was talking about. And it was very, very interesting. And I'm glad that I listened to it, because it did help me see and understand better some people's concerns around AI. But I guess the reality for me right now is that I'm running a business like you are, or you're perhaps going to be running a business, and AI is everywhere. It's in your Gmail, it's in your Google Sheet, it's in your search results, it's everywhere, right? I mean, in my bank, there's now AI, and or ask the AI about how you're going with your transactions, and if you've got any questions, ask the AI. It's everywhere. And I think it's responsible, perhaps, to make sure that you understand what AI is and how to use it in your practice. I think if you don't learn it now, you're going to fall behind real quick, because as somebody who is into it, I get updates every single day, and it changes every single day, the AI landscape. And, when I first started getting into this 6 or 7 months ago, I was at the leading edge, I like to think, in terms of private practice and what it can be used for, in terms of applications for us as women in business. And I like to think that I still am, but every day there's something new. Just coming back again to what I was saying before, I'm on a tangent now. This is what I'm saying. Like, this works for me. The AI works for me because of my neurodivergence, because it's not the same, because every day there's a new development in the world of AI. Maybe it's a new feature in ChatGPT. Maybe it's something new that I can do with Claude or Gamma or like whatever I'm using. It's exciting because every day it's novelty, every day it's dopamine. And then I get to go, okay, now I'm aware of this. Now I've learned the thing. Now I'm on top of it. Is it relevant to my clients? Is it something that I can share with them? Is it something that could help them? Is it something that could help them in their business to automate a workflow or streamline something? Or, if they're spending 10 hours a week on the email, is this something that could get that back to 2 hours a week? And then with that other time, they could go and work on the business instead of trying to see clients full time and work on the business after hours when they should be relaxing, should be winding down and stuff like that, but should isn't the right word. I heard myself say that. Would rather be, want to be chilling, de-stressing, all of the things. But anyway, yes. So AI for us with neurotypical and neurodivergence, see how I'm bringing it back? I know. I think the role of AI in Overwhelm is that for somebody who doesn't know how to use it, right? If you're neurotypical and you don't know how to use AI, you think that you do, right? You're unconsciously incompetent, right? You just don't know what you don't know, and you think the way that you're using it is great, okay? I'm here to tell you, you probably haven't even scratched the tip of the iceberg. And I'm saying that from experience because I used to think I was using it great too until I went and learned and I did courses and stuff like that. And it brought me crashing back down to earth very quickly. I was not the smartest one in the room. I went in there cocky and confident, thinking I was quite smug and I thought I knew more than the teacher. Turned out, no. Right? I didn't know more than the teacher, and I had so much to learn and I did it, right? But the thing is that if you are neurotypical and you're using it, let's say, for example, you're using ChatGPT to make posts for LinkedIn, okay? And you're going back and forth and you're like, oh, I want to make this post. Make it a post about mindfulness and relationships or something like that. And you're going back and forward. And then you get the output, you go and post it and you're like, yeah, I'm using AI in my business. I think the AI is probably going to hinder more than it helps if you don't know what you're doing, because you're probably, two things are going on. Either you're spending a lot longer than you need to going back and forward with ChatGPT, for example, about the post that you want to make. Really, this should happen in less than a minute. And you're probably spending maybe half an hour on it or more sometimes. I know. That's probably happening. And then you're probably putting out content that's just not landing. And so it's not generating inquiries, it's not generating bookings and stuff like this. And then you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling behind and you're feeling like, why is this happening to me? I'm doing all of the things. And I think the other way that the AI contributes to overwhelm, number 3, is because it will, it's programmed to give you suggestions, right? So you might get to the end of the iterations that you're doing with ChatGPT on your LinkedIn post, and you're going to say, okay, great, thanks so much, I'm going to go and post it now. And Chat's going to come back to you and go, yeah, and when you've done that, how about we do this? Or we could do this thing, right? And you might want to look at that thing. And now all of a sudden you've got these other ideas in your head that you weren't even thinking about. And now you're wondering, maybe one of those is better than what I'm about to put up. Okay, I'll go down the rabbit hole. And you lose more time. And then you get confused and you don't know what you're doing and you're feeling really overwhelmed. And then you're like, I hate AI. It doesn't work for me. Da, 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 right? I even used AI for my website and I felt really good about it. And Brooklyn taught me a new one. And, she's told me go and handwrite it, and what a waste of time. Now I'm going to have to go and do it all over again, and I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to, and then still don't get inquiries or bookings and things like that. So I think that AI contributes to overwhelm unless you know how to use it. And that's for if you're neurotypical. Now, if you're neurodivergent, my take, again, it's just my 5 cents. Tell me if I'm wrong. But I think AI works super well for neurodivergent minds for a whole bunch of reasons. For example, it helps you as an executive functioning partner. By that, I mean it can reduce cognitive load by remembering things for you. It can schedule things for you. It can sweep things for you. It can automate things for you that you might otherwise forget to do or not, prioritize or not be in the mood to do because your energy isn't there, but it will take care of it for you. You can use it to help you remember things. It can reduce decision fatigue, right? Which is something that so many of us struggle with, like making the decision. It can be really hard. It reduces analysis paralysis. So when you're neurodivergent, you might have an idea over here of a group program that you want to set up, create some passive income, but you're thinking about it in terms of, I need the plan, I need the steps, I need the framework, it needs to be like this. And so you're feeling stuck. But the AI gets you unstuck because it works with you. Even like a very, very simple way would be brainstorming, right? And that brainstorming alone helps you explore things, unpack things. And here we go. Now we're getting in the zone, right? We're getting in the zone of that inspiration. It can also, yes, I'm just turning over my little piece of paper here. My hands are shaking this morning. It is cold, but I don't know why my little hands are shaking. I didn't have much sleep last night. The one they call Buddy kept jumping off the bed. He must have jumped off about 3 times, and he kept saying, Mum, I need to go out to the toilet. And then I'd open up the door for him, and it was blowing a gale, and it was raining and everything. And then instead of going out to the toilet, he walked backwards away from the door, and then we had to get back into bed. So there was a bit of that. Maybe I just didn't get a good sleep. But anyway, it can help you if you're neurodivergent by systemizing some of your tasks and helping you get started with things. It's called task initiation, but helps you get started with things. One of the fantastic things that it can really do for you is support you with your communication. So if you have rejection sensitive dysphoria like I do, responding to an email that feels triggering can be really hard. And I didn't realize how long it took me to reply to, let's say it's an email, but it could be a comment on your post. It might be, I don't know, whatever, but some feedback, right? It might just be the smallest thing. And a neurotypical person's going to go, well, there's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't mean anything at all. And why are you getting so upset? And just ignore it, blow it off. But for us, it's a big deal, right? And we can feel dysregulated, triggered, like all of the things. And then we kind of know what we want to say, but at the same time, we're trying to be professional about it, and we're also emotional, and we can't think clearly. And we can sit on that email for a day. We could sit on that email for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. And while we're looking at that email, we're simultaneously, while we're trying to write it, processing, right? Not a great combination, is it? And we're typing the response, and then we're deleting it, and then we're typing it again, and then we're deleting that, and then we end up sending something that's quite watered down, that doesn't really convey what we want it to convey, because we want to be loved by everybody and we don't want anybody to not love us, but we send it, and now there's this like little bud of like frustration, irritability, anger, resentment, because you don't feel like this person who sent you that thing really gets it, really understands XYZ. For example, the point is, you can lose a lot of time on one email, and that can make you feel like not only tired, but it can make you feel vulnerable, can make you feel rejected, it can make you have self-doubt, and all these things get in the way of being able to respond, even though you might be a psychologist, right? Or a counsellor or a social worker. Doesn't matter. It happens. You're human, right? We all are. We all experience these things if you have neurodivergence and RSD. So the point I'm trying to make is that AI can absolutely support you in managing a couple of things around communication and also around boundaries. And that's really, really hard, I think. Well, it was for me for the longest time. I used to really struggle with boundaries. Like people, like I only want to work with clients online on Monday and Tuesday mornings, and at a pinch, if it's needed, I can be available and show up for somebody on a Wednesday morning. But outside of that, I don't want to do it. And it took me time to get okay with, I don't like the word enforcing, but I guess sticking to that schedule, right? And so people would say, well, I really want to book, I don't know, let's say supervision. I really want to book that. But I'm only available on a Friday. And, I didn't want to upset somebody. I didn't want to let somebody down. I didn't want to offend them, blah, blah, blah. And I used to agree, and I'd say, sure, I can see you on a Friday. And I'd say, but it will need to be in the morning because, that's when I want to work. I'm at my best in the mornings, right? And they'll come back to me and they'll go, oh, great. And I feel like, oh, good, she's happy, great, phew, relief. She's getting the appointment. And then the next sentence would be, but I can't do mornings because I've got yoga. So it will need to be at 3:30. And I find myself locked into an appointment 3:30 on a Friday afternoon that the person may or may not turn up to. And that's just one example. And I did that for years. And, it just, I guess, saying yes to things that weren't really aligned, but saying yes to them because of what was going on with the neurodivergence and the RSD. So the AI can support you in articulating your boundaries in a professional way. And when that happens, you write the email more quickly. You may still want to edit and refine, but it takes you so much less time because you got the bones there, and then you can just boop, send it. And there's pretty much no emotional trigger, pretty much no dysregulation, right? I think the other thing too is, what else? Oh, the communication, the boundary settings. Yeah. Hang on, I'm just trying to read my writing. I can't read my writing. I've got boundary setting. Find something we can find challenging. Oh, yeah, it just helps us do the things that other people find easy, that we find challenging. It can really help us with brain dumps too, right? So, some of my clients who are neurotypical, they really love planners, and I will send them a little planner sometimes because I know that they love that, and they love to like map out what the week's going to look like, and they will check their plan at the end of the day and they know what's going on in their practice the next day. And the next day comes and they can follow that thing. But in my experience for myself and with some of my neurodivergent clients, we try that, right? We try to have the weekly plan. Oh, well, I'll do my admin on this day and I'll do my invoices on that day. What can happen is the day comes and we're just not in the mood. The motivation isn't there. The drive isn't there. We don't want to do it, right? And so we end up fluffing around doing other things. Then we feel bad because we've been conditioned or taught, whatever it is, that you have to do the thing that needs to be done. And you said you were going to do your invoices today and you haven't done them. So therefore, you're behind. That means you're not a good business owner, blah, 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 blah. But what the other thing I know is that when you're neurodivergent, maybe you want to have like an overview of the week or an overview of the day. And then in the morning, you're going to say, oh, okay, and I'm seeing some clients this morning. And then I wanted to do these things this afternoon. I wanted to pre-write my blog posts and get them all scheduled in weeks so that they publish one a week, for the next 5 weeks or something like that. But I'm also thinking about this, and I've just seen this thing on YouTube and, blah, blah, blah. And so now your brain is full of kind of excitement because there's all this other stuff that you want to do. There's this nice little buzz of how am I going to get it all done, right? And secretly, you're going to get done the things that are important to you. So you're not really worried about getting things done. And then you have an option. You can either follow your agenda and it's going to feel hard and you'll feel disconnected and you feel like you're failing perhaps, or like you're behind perhaps, or you'll push on and you'll try and get the things done, but it's going to feel like you're walking through the mud and it's slow and why isn't it quicker and where's my result and things like that. Or you will do what I do and some of my other clients do. And it's like, we will just get a piece of paper and we're going to quickly, before we forget it, jot down all of the things that we want to do. And it's not a to-do list. It's like a want to do list. And it's all just there on the paper. And sometimes for us, just getting it down on the paper is all we need to clear our minds and then focus on what we're meant to be doing, air quotes. But for others of us, we can look at that and go, okay, which one do I want to do first? And that's me. I'm like, which one do I want to do first? But what I've also learned is when it comes to business, I want to link it to two things. I either want to link it to something I want more of in my business for my clients, for the business itself, for my audience, for me personally, right? Or I want to link it to a value that I have. So I will look over my, scribbly bit of paper with little doodles on it and asterisks beside lots of things and things underlined and, bolded, and I've got boxes around other things and stuff like that. And I'll have a look at it. And if I can do it through the lens of, okay, if I just do one of these things today, which one will get me closer to helping one of my clients? Which one will get me closer to another product on my Etsy store that can bring in recurring revenue? Which one will get me closer to adding a new lesson in the Resource Hub? Which one will get me closer to my revenue goal this quarter? Which one will get me closer to 2 new inquiries today, right? Then it's really easy because one or two of those inspired things will jump out at me. And then I just tell myself, right, I'm going to do these things or this thing before I do anything else. So for me, I like to get up early now. I wake up at 6:30. I want to have a slow morning with Buddy. And so that looks like coffee, pajamas, cuddles on the couch with the blanket, in the dressing gown, watching whatever stuff I feel like watching in the moment. And we do that for an hour till 7:30. Then it's like have a shower, feed the dog, open up the house, boot up the computer. I'm just kind of like slowly, that next half hour till 8 o'clock is just me sort of getting ready for the day. And then 8 o'clock, that's when it's usually, 8:15, that's when I want to start work. But in my mind, I officially start at 9. I give myself this 8 till 9 or 8:15 till 9 kind of grace, because I know in the morning, that's when all the ideas rush in and that's when I feel so inspired. And so I know I get stuff done very quickly. So I want to use that time and say, oh, okay, I hadn't planned on doing an email today, but yeah, I can absolutely talk about this in an email, link that email to a discovery call or a website check or the coaching programs or, whatever I'm doing, like a free resource or something like that. I can, yeah, and that makes sense. And and I will just go into Flowdesk and boom, bang out my little email, handwritten, not AI. I've started saying that in the bottom of my emails too now. I'm like, this email was handwritten by me, not AI or not by ChatGPT, right? Because I think it's so important. It's just like tangent. Come with me for 1 second. This is just me for a second. I find it offensive to get a response to a personal email that's been clearly written by AI. I find that so offensive. It happened to me yesterday. I sent somebody an email and it was a personal email and I was raising a concern about national standards, Anyway, a whole other podcast episode. But I was raising a concern and it was a legitimate concern. Other counsellors who are members of the ACA brought it to me. I was like, hey, there's something to this. I want to get some guidance or get some clarity, blah, blah, blah. And so I sent an email to a colleague and I was like, hey, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm thinking. What are your insights? Like, am I on the right track with this? Blah, blah, blah. And I got back an email that was full of the M dashes, full of the it's not this, it's that, and saying actually everywhere, and saying it matters everywhere. And I was like, seriously? I felt so disrespected. And I know that that's not the person's intention, right? That person was probably like, oh, SH1T. Here she goes again, ruffling feathers, causing trouble, all under the umbrella of advocating for people. She's a troublemaker and we need to rein her in a little bit. So I think they've just gone off to AI to figure out how to deal with me. Because maybe they wanted to just make sure they were covering all their bases or something. And then they've come back to me with this very disjointed email that didn't flow. And it didn't really make sense because it had all this superfluous CRAP in it. And I was like, I felt so offended and just so disrespected. And I know that if I said that to this person and they CC'd other people in on it, I know. But so all these other people got to see my email, by the way. Not great. But anyway, the thing was that I just know that that wasn't their intention. I think their intention was butt covering, basically, which is fine. But yeah, it just felt like I felt let down. I could understand an AI written email for your marketing. Like, I don't know, if you've got a free thing on your website that's going to help me with my business and automating more stuff, for example, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to give you my first name and my email address. I know I'm paying the price and I know I'm going to start getting emails from you now. And I expect they're probably going to be written by AI. You're not going to be writing every single person who downloads your free thing a personalized email. I get that. But, that is less of a concern to me than one that's written from a colleague to a colleague, right? Not saying don't use AI to write the email, but there are ways of doing it. Anyway, that was just my experience. It's just what it felt like for me. And it just reinforced how I want to write the emails myself. And I can use AI to help me. And sometimes I have used AI to help me. The difference is I know how to use it. I'm not just going in there and saying, write me an email, write me a reply to, I don't know, Sarah about da 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 da. There are ways to use it, and that's not the right way, I don't think. But anyway, back to the neurodivergence. It can really help you with, the brain dumps in the morning. And as I said, the way that I work with the brain dump with AI is you can throw it into Claude or ChatGPT. And you can say, hey, I need to organize my thoughts this morning. I want to make sure I get these things done, but I've also got these other things. Can you help me organize it? Help me, map out what the day could look like, right? And there are lots of ways that you can do that. It can, if you want a schedule, you can make a schedule. If you want it to help you figure out like when your energy is best and which tasks might match the energy, it can help you with that. If you want a mind map of how the day could look, it will do that for you. So you can use it as a tool to help you organize the brain dumps so that you don't have to just like dump and run and just focus on the linear things. Okay. Super duper helpful. And it really helps you with, I find, initiating creativity, right? So what I mean by that is when you, I don't know, share an idea, right? You might be like, oh, I've got this inspiration, like me with my Google Chrome extensions. I'd be like, oh, I want to make this Google Chrome extension, da, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sharing all of the things, right? And I say, oh, yeah, I really want to do it because this is on my heart. This is on my mind. I'm seeing this pattern showing up with my clients and I want to help them fix it, solve it, resolve it, all of the things. Then it can inspire me because we can go back and forward about, have you considered this? Or is this also important to you? Or what about like what interface would work best? And, well, I don't know. What have you got? And so we can have all of this. And then you're like, oh, yes, that. Oh, yes, that. Oh, yes, that. And so that's what I mean. It can really spark creativity. I think AI is brilliant if you are neurodivergent for all of those reasons. I think it's also so helpful as a tool for you if you're neurotypical and you're somebody who really loves analysis, who loves a plan, who loves the structure, the frameworks, the formatting, the goals, the ticking things off and stuff like that. No matter like where you are on that whole spectrum, there's a way that AI can work for you. And that is why I'm so passionate about it. I think it really is going to, and I know it's very early days, right? It's only been around like 24 months, a little bit more. And I mean, that wasn't even really mainstream, right? But anyway, I think there are so many opportunities here, no matter what type of practice you run, no matter who you work with, no matter how you help, no matter if you're neurotypical, neurodivergent, it doesn't matter. There are so many opportunities for you in all different ways. But if you don't know what they are, you're never going to be able to leverage them for your business. And it's possible then that you may start falling behind. The reason that I know this is because, for example, as I said, like I teach my clients about how to use AI to do things like, this week it was creating a resource, right? A couple of my clients, one's got a group private practice, the other one, I'm not sure if she has a group private practice or not, but yeah, we were looking at how we use it for resource creation. We created some resources straight away. Their confidence is up, they're feeling good. Now they're going to go and put these resources out into the community and they're establishing themselves now as leaders in this, right? When they go and their clients show the doctor, show the parents, show the school, show the other practitioners in the next supervision session, like the things, it's going to make these women memorable, stand out in the mind of a referrer, stand out in the mind of a client. It's going to build up the word of mouth because once people become aware of what they're creating, everybody's going to want one. And do you know what? They're setting the standard at the moment. But the thing is that as people, other practitioners, become aware of what they're creating, they're going to start creating them too. And then it's going to become the standard, right? It'll be the standard expectation of a client that you're using AI for certain things in your business. And so even when it becomes the standard, my clients who've been learning this are already firmly established as people who led it, right? The originators of it. They started it. And that can never, ever, ever be taken away from them. This is going to really support the longevity of their business, right? It's doing things like this that create client referral pipelines, that create the consistent sort of queue of clients in the wings ready to replace the clients who are finishing up. If you want to be part of that too, you can be. As I said, I teach this to my clients one-to-one. If they're at that stage and they're wanting to learn it and it will be helpful for them, but also over in the Resource Hub. And I will put the link there. Now, the Resource Hub is not free, okay? It's $33 and there's a 7-day free trial. So you can come, you can check it out. It's only brand new, this little community, but we had our very first practical workshop on Monday or Tuesday, I forget when it was. When's today? Wednesday. Monday, we had our very first practical workshop, and the people who attended went away with creations and they're super proud of them, right? And now they're like, what's next? What else can we do? What else can we do? What else can we do? So you can come there, you can get templates, you can get the resources, you can customize the resources, all those kinds of things. You can start using them. And if you want my help with your stuff, you can absolutely get it on one of those calls. So I'm just going to do fortnightly workshops, and each workshop's going to be on something different. Now, if you don't want to join a $33 a month membership, that's fine. If you don't want to be a coaching client, that's fine. But if you would like to, I guess, assess where your knowledge is of AI, if you're feeling like you're hitting a glass ceiling and you don't know why it's not giving you the results that other people seem to be getting and things like that, you can book a one-to-one session with me and I will give you AI coaching. I'm a qualified AI coach. We're going to do it for your business and you and I will be online together. We can do screen shares, all of the things, and you're going to leave that session with me with either something in your pocket, so to speak, created, done, or skills that you didn't have when you came to the call, or knowledge that you didn't have when you came to the call. Okay, so if those things would be helpful, amazing, they're there for you. And then I also teach practices how to use Claude Cowork in their business when they've got teams and stuff like that. So if you have a group practice and you're wanting to look at, okay, how do we use the AI safely, ethically? What can we do? What can't we do? If you're wanting some of that, of course, reach out, let me know. I'll put my email address in the comments. You're most welcome to ask the questions, okay? And I will handwrite the answers. So I hope that this was super helpful and super interesting. We covered like a couple of big things. I probably was not expecting to talk about the Pope today. It was fun to be able to talk about the application of AI tools for working with neurodivergence or being neurotypical. And I really hope that you have a better understanding now of what could be contributing towards the overwhelm and what you can do to sort of get through it and get out of it. Okay, I hope that this helps you so much, because I don't want you being stuck. It's about momentum. It's about keeping you going. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorm.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.